A sad day in the city of Cincinnati today as radio legend and icon Gary Burbank has passed away at the age of 84. Joining me now is Good Morning Cincinnati's Sheila Gray. Sheila, I only got to meet Gary a couple of times. He was warm, he was kind, he was entertaining. You've had the pleasure of knowing him for more than 2 decades. Talk about your relationship with him.
It was an honor to be his friend, and it was fun to be his friend because he was one of the most talented and intelligent people that I've ever been around. His mind never stopped working. I kind of always thought of him a little bit like a Robin Williams or Jonathan Winters. He had the ability to create characters and stories just off the top of his head like nobody I've ever seen. And I don't think anybody in Cincinnati had ever seen it before or ever will again.
Yeah, you were just talking, it's kind of an end of an era, this sort of variety show take on daytime radio. Gilbert Gnarly, Earl Pitts. We were talking about All My Bengals. It was just such a mixed bag of what he could do. His versatility was incredible.
He produced an incredible amount of comedy 5 days a week, every afternoon on the big one, 700 WLW. And you just mentioned a couple of the characters. There were so many others. There was Hal and Blind Muddy Slim, the jazz blues artist. And he would write music for this guy and sing about it and tell funny, kind of insulting stories that Muddy Blind told. And I got to interview him right before he retired in 2007. I did a couple of stories with him, sat in the studio with him. He had a great story about the time he met Elvis. Oh. Because he grew up in Memphis and he was just a kid, and he and his buddy were just walking down the street, and they kind of flagged down this pickup truck, and this guy says, "Y'all need a ride?" And it was Elvis, and they were afraid to ask him if it was really Elvis. So they got this ride from this man, and here he pulls over to let them out at their stop, and they said, "Are you Elvis?" And he winked at him, and then this girl that was walking down the street almost ran into a stop sign because she saw that it was Elvis. And he loved that. He just loved telling stories and making people laugh, and that was the greatest thing about him.
I'm sure he said thank you very much when he got the ride from him. Real quickly, just you talked about your personal relationship with him and how every time you were around him you felt like you were watching a show. Talk a little bit more about that, because that's unique. Not everybody has that quality.
Yeah, I think that you mentioned how warm and kind he was, and he would always ask you about how you were doing, and he would always want to talk about Good Morning Cincinnati, and because he actually loved watching Local 12, which was really nice. But when you were with him, there was no problem that you could ever focus on. And that's a gift. If somebody can do that for people, that's an absolute gift. And I think every afternoon when he was on the radio, he made people forget about what happened during their day and just laugh.
One of the best qualities you can have.
Yeah.
Sheila, thank you so much.
Thanks, Adam.